Okay, hi everybody. We are tonight going to complete the Pedic, which is very exciting. We're on 90A, Daf study, and we're going to complete the 9th chapter, Be'ezrat Hashem. It's mostly completing the Mishnah, some details of different amounts of carrying, but we'll actually get a chance to see something very interesting of comparing the Gemara here to another Gemara. So just a quick reminder, we're in the Mishnah talking about carrying out wood and reeds, which we talked about yesterday. And now we're going to be talking about different items that are used for dyes, and then different items that are used for detergents. Okay, so let's skip right to the dyes. If someone carries outside on Shabbat nutshells, pomegranate peels, safflower, or madder, another kind of flour, which are all used to produce dyes, the question is, what's the minimum amount that one would be liable, which is defined as the minimum useful amount. Okay, so these are all the minimum useful amounts because kedelis ba beged katan, a very small piece of cloth that would go on a woman's hairnet. That's the smallest item that you would dye, and so that was enough of these flowers to create that much dye. What it means, that's what the Mishnah said. However, we have a problem because there is another Mishnah that says something contradictory. Hamosi sammanim shiruyin kedei lisba behen dugma le'ira. Elsewhere, we learned that someone who carries spices that are soaked in water, it's enough that are also used for dyes. The minimum amount is enough to color a sample you'd make a little sample swatch that you use on part of the loom on one of the spindles. You cover the spindle, and so that is an even smaller amount than the amount that goes on a hat. So we have a contradiction. What's the minimum amount of spices? This larger amount in our Mishnah or the smaller amount in the other Mishnah? Oh, you know what? We already answered that question. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Abba Bad Abu, Lefi she'en adam toreach lishrot samemanim lisba behen dugma le'ira. If you remember, we saw this a few dapim ago. We gave this answer that a person does not bother to soak these spices unless there's a minimum threshold that he's going to use them for. And so, therefore, if it's raw spices, which it is in our Mishnah, has to be a larger amount that you would be bother beginning the process to begin with. However, if they are already soaking, then it's a smaller amount, which is this sample, because they're already soaking. So then you said I may as well use it. So the measurements for something that's raw material is larger than something that's already in the middle of being processed material. Okay, now we get to the detergents. Medaglaim, Tana, Medaglaim, Ad ben Arba'im Yom. In olden days, urine was used as a detergent. It's very strong. It could get out, get stains out, but it has to be up until 40 days. And so that's only that. So it's only useful during that time period. Neter. What is neter? Tana neter Alexandrit velo neter anpanterin. Okay, this natron is that which comes from Alexandria, which is stronger, and so that would be that amount, and not the natron that's made in Antipatris, which is a city on the coast of Israel, right between the south and the north. It's actually a famous city because, according to the Talmud, when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt and then came through Israel, he went through Antipatris and met the Kohen Gadol there. Kohen Gadol came out of Jerusalem and traveled west, and that was the scene of the famous meeting between Alexander the Great and the Kohen Gadol. What's fascinating about that is that the Talmud says it's Antipatris. Josephus, who was a little bit closer to the time, says that meeting happened in Jerusalem. And this is an interesting case where the Talmud most likely has it right historically, because it makes sense if Alexander the Great was going up north, he would go along the coast. There was no reason for him to go into Jerusalem. Anyway, so that's one thing that this place Antipatris is famous for. It's also famous for creating a natron, but it was not as strong as the Alexandrian one. Okay, now we have borit. What is that? Amar Rav Yehuda is a hol. It's a certain type of sand. That's Rav Yehuda's opinion. However, we have a baraita that says haborit, tanya haborit vehachol, that mentions two items. This baraita, I'm going to show you a parallel to it. So you know what it's even referring to. But anyway, the baraita refers to two things. One is borit, and another is sand. Obviously, borit cannot be sand, otherwise it wouldn't list them together. Ella, my borit kabrita. Borit is actually sulfur. Okay, makes sense that would be good for use as a detergent. However, we have a problem with this because we see in a Tannaitic source that it's talking about the Shevi'it year and things that you're not allowed to grow, not allowed to use. הוסיפו עליהן החלביסין, הלעינין, הבורית והאהל. ואיסא כדתך כבריתה מאיתה בשביעית, והתנן זה כלל כל שיש לו עיקר, יש לו שביעית, ושאין לו עיקר, אין לו שביעית. Regarding the Shevi'it laws, which you're not allowed to grow in the seventh year, we have a principle that has to be something that has a root that grows from the ground. And so if it's simply sulfur, maybe you find it in the ground if you mine it, but it doesn't have roots, it doesn't grow from the ground. And so we see in this list these items, ornitha galam, I'm glad I have that translation here, otherwise I wouldn't know what it is, and word, and borit, and aloe. And so you see that borit is mentioned among the list of items that one cannot plant, one cannot use, grow during the Shevi'it year. Obviously, this is something that grows and therefore cannot be sulfur, which does not grow. So we reject that opinion also. Ella my borit ahala. Oh, so must be a aloe. Vatanya borit v'ha'ala. Right here in this baraita, it says borit and ahal. So borit can't be the same as ahal. Ella teregav nehala is two kinds of aloe, two types. One is called borit, one is called ahal. So that's the final. That's the conclusion that borit is a type of aloe. Now I want to show you something that is really interesting. This entire discussion about what is borit, where we had several different options, and we arrived at aloe. This entire sugya is copied in Masechet Nida. And I want you to try to figure out where it comes first. In Masechet Nida, it's a completely different context, different use. It also lists different detergents. The reason is, if someone sees a ketem, a stain that looks like blood, and you're not sure, is it blood or is it a dye? If it's blood, she's tameh. If it's a dye, it's okay. Well, the test is you wash it with these various types of detergents. If it comes out, you know it was blood. If it doesn't come out, you know it was dye. And so it lists in the Mishnah the different detergents. Okay, and among them, neter, borit, and kimonia, ashlag, basically the same list as we have. Then the Talmud says, neter, alexandrit, and velo antipatrit, same as we just said, and then it says borit, and it says the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and then so what about the Tanya, borit v'ahal? So it must be sulfur, and so on and so forth. Which we wonder, this baraita, where was it originally said? In the context of Nida or the context of Shabbat? Or really, the question is on this whole entire sugya. What it means right in the end, is two kinds of ahala, word for word the same. Any way to tell where it was first and where it was copied? All right, it's a hard question. But if you have a very good memory, you might remember that in the Mishnah, in a previous daf of Shabbat on 78b, the Mishnah mentioned lots of different items regarding carrying, and here it said gofrit. Gofrit meaning sulfur, right? That was one of the options that we just said. Perhaps borit is sulfur, but gofrit already gave a measurement, which is enough to make a hole, to plug up a hole and make another hole in it. That's the amount, the minimum amount for gofrit. And so what you see here is that the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, our Gemara in Shabbat, if it says borit, what is borit, and says it's sulfur, well, I mean, anyone that said this answer should have immediately said that's impossible because the Mishnah that already deals with sulfur and gives a different amount. So in other words, this response is not possible, does not make sense in the context of Masechet Shabbat. It does make sense in the context of Masechet Nida, where we're not talking about measurements, but rather just what are types of detergents that are considered something that would get blood out, but not a dye. And so therefore we can conclude that this entire sugya we're learning right now originated in Masechet Nida, and then was, oh, you mentioned borit. Oh, I know something about borit. And it was transferred and copied word for word here, even though this answer would only be a rhetorical answer and could not have remained as a conclusion. Okay, anyway, so that's just a fascinating way that usually when we have parallel sugyot, which there are lots and lots of, it's usually very, very difficult to tell where it was first and where it was second. But here we have a key clue, and that's something that Professor David Weiss Halivni points out in his commentary. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can go on to the next item, which is Kimolia, Simolian earth, Marav Yehuda, Shelof Dos. Okay, he didn't, Rav Yehuda said it's something called pull out and stick in, which is a literal translation, but doesn't really mean anything. Maybe that's something to do with how you get this earth out from under the ground. Anyway, that's what it is. Eshlag, what is that? אמר שמואל שהלטינו לכל נחותי ימה ואמרו לי שוננה שמיה ומשתכח בנוגבה דמרגניתה ומפקיא ברמסה דפרזלה. Oh, I asked all the people, all the sailors, and they say it's found in the shell of a pearl. You take an iron skewer and you make a hole and you can get it out that way. I think this is fascinating because you have the Mishnah, which mentions a whole bunch of things. Mishnah is finalized by the Yehuda Nasi. Shemuel is only one generation later, yet already Shemuel doesn't know what these items refer to. Perhaps because he's living in Bavel, and so maybe these items are not as common there, or the translation is not clear. It's also fascinating when he wants to know what it is, he goes and asks sailors. You ever hear of this thing? Maybe in their travels they came across this word. Okay, the equivalent today of looking in a dictionary of Semitic languages or something. All right, so now we get to the final Mishnah of the Perek, Pilpelet. Kol shehu ve'etran kol shehu mine besami u'min metachot kol shehen. Pepper, even this tiniest amount, even just one little bit of pepper, one would be liable if he carries it, and so too with tar and any kind of spices. Also, the littlest bit, perfumes or spices. If you take the altar of the Mishkan or the Bet HaMikdash, which is holy, even the little bit of it is very important. It broke off some sand from it or a brick from it. Mekek sefarim mekek mit pehotehem kol shehu. A deteriorated a scroll or a deteriorated covering of a scroll, the cloth covering that we put on top of a Sefer Torah. Right, even the tiniest bit, just on the corner of the scroll, a little bit got worn out and came off. If you carry that little bit, it's chayav. Why? It's not very important. A little bit like that. Shemastin de gonzan, because we do store them, not because they're useful, but we store them to put in the geniza because they have shemot. These are holy objects. This includes both the altar and the books. And so, even though you're not storing them for a useful purpose, they are important to you because you want to put them in geniza. So therefore, all these items are the smallest bit. Rabbi Yehuda omer, af hamosi misham meshe avodah zara, kol shehu shenemar, v'lo yidbak biyadecha me'uma min ha'cherem. Even if you have an idol or a piece of an idol, even the tiniest bit that falls off an idol is also, if you carry it, you're chayav because it's important. Why is it important? It's an idol. The pasuk says it should not get onto your hands even a little bit of something that is chayrim. And so therefore, ironically, that which is the most holy and that which is the worst are both metame kol shehu because they're so powerful. They are important to dispose of properly, or they are powerful because you want to make sure to get rid of every last bit of them. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Talmud will discuss each one. Pilpelet kol shehu lemay chazia. What is this little bit of pepper used for? L'reach hapeh. Seems it was some kind of special peppercorn that they would keep in their mouths and would last a while and would help with bad breath. Itzran kol shehu lemay chazia lesilhata. Tar was used to cure a headache. Somehow the strong smell of the tar would get rid of a migraine. מיני בסמים כל שהן, תנו רבנן המוציא ריח רע כל שהוא. So any kind of perfume, there's a baraita that adds anything that has a very bad smell, also kol shehu, because some things with bad smells were also used as medication. Shemen tov kol shehu, if it's nice smell, also any amount. Argaman kol shehu, mutulat averet achat. Right, purple dye, any amount, and a young rosebud, the minimum amount is one rosebud. Wonderful. Any amount of metal. What would you use a little bit of metal for? Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar katan. You could take the metal, melt it together, and make a small nail. And your nail might be very small, a little screw they could use for something. Tanu Rabbanan Ha'omer Hare Alai Barzel. Now we're dealing with a different subject. You mentioned minimum amounts of metals. Now regarding a different area, if someone takes an oath and says, I am going to donate to the Bet HaMikdash Barzel, it doesn't specify an amount. What is the minimum amount that he can donate if he doesn't say how much it is? Acharim omerim lo yifchot me'ama al ama, a cubit by a cubit square, and about a foot and a half squared of that metal sheet one would have to donate. Lemay chazia, what would they use it for in the Bet HaMikdash? I mean, it has to define based on some normal usage. Amar Rav Yosef lechalya orev, to something to chase away the ravens on the roof of the Mishkan or Bet HaMikdash. They wanted to make sure ravens wouldn't land and nest on there, so they made a spiky roof so they wouldn't go on there, and they made those spikes out of metal. And so that would be even a small amount like that would be useful. Another version just switches around those two statements and says, the Baraita says it should be enough to create a raven chaser, and Rav Yosef defines how much is that? Ama al ama. Okay, they're equivalent amounts. I just forgot which one is the Baraita and which one was Rav Yosef's commentary. Nechoshet.
Is this the middle of the Baraita? Because we have Aherim, like this. Is there another group of people?
Yeah, it's the middle of the Baraita. It must have been something, right. Yeah, because usually you're doing. First of all, you don't say Acharim if there's nobody else, and also you don't say Acharim first if there's nobody else. So yeah, it's just giving us right in the middle. Nechoshet, iron, lo yivchot mima'a kesef, should also be that which would be worth a ma'a of money. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Omer lo yivchot misinora ketana shel nechoshet. If you're giving copper, it should be the amount to make a little hook. Lemay chazia, what would you use that little hook for? Use it to scrape wicks and to clean the lamps with. You need something small, a little tool to be able to do that. So the deteriorated parts of a book and their coverings, so Rabbi Yehuda understood it mekak not as, I think as the pshat just means something deteriorated, but actually a worm. What is it that a bookworm that destroys the sefarim, and now he's going to list other things that destroy other things. Techach de shira'eh. So this is an item that destroys coverings. Ilane ve'ila de einbe, something called ilah that will destroy grapes. Or fair de te'ene, something called fair destroys pomegranates. Veha de the dates, and something called had that destroys pomegranates. Kulhu sakanta, they're all very dangerous, and so make sure not to eat them if it has such a thing. Hahu talmida dehava neyatib kamed Rabbi Yochanan hava kachil te'eneh amale Rabbi kosin yesh patenim amale ketale pe leden. So a student was sitting before Rabbi Yochanan, and the student was eating these dates, and he asked Rabbi Yochanan, "Are there thorns in sorry, not dates, figs, and figs?" And he says, "Oh yes, they are." And that other guy was eating them, and he died. So I hope he stopped eating them at that point. Okay, so Sam seems like they did know something about the various insects that go into different foods and make their home in them. That one of them we can identify well is the one that goes into a pomegranate. This item here burrows a hole in the peel and goes inside, and then it grows and comes out as a butterfly, and it does all that within the pomegranate. So I imagine if you see that, it would not be safe to eat. Okay, very good. It's certainly not kosher anyway. And now the last Mishnah. Hamasi kupat harochelin. We just said before that if you bring spices, even the smallest amount of spices, and so what if you bring a lot of spices, but they're all in a box that you would use to sell? It has all different areas. You're not chayav for each spice. It's the whole box is one. Garden seeds would be a fig bulk full, because usually you plant a lot of seeds at a time, not just one seed. No one carries out. Well, no one keeps one seed. He says no. He's more machmir. 5 seeds, right? In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds. Nobody would bother storing. No one plants 4 seeds, but 5 seeds is already enough. Chachamim say more. Then we go to different items. Zera kishuin, cucumber, 2 seeds. Cucumber is really important. Even 2 seeds, someone would plant. Squash, even 2. Diloin shenayim. Zera ful, misri shenayim. Egyptian beans, also 2. Hagab. Okay, those are different things. Hagab hai tahor kol shehu met kagerogeret. If it's a locust, some locusts are kosher. If it's a kosher one, even a very, very small locust it's a full, it's a whole bite. And so therefore, even the smallest one would be its own being, and therefore that would be chayav. If it dies, well, I'll tell you why. No, if it's alive, then it's not food. If it's alive, you'd use it to play with. Kids would play with locusts, and so even the small one is useful as a toy. If it died, then it's food, and so then it would be the standard amount for food, which is a figful. Siporet keramim, which is another type of locust, ben haya ben meta kol shehu. Any amount is important because that's used for medicine. Shemasnin ota lirfuah. Rabbi Yehuda omer afa mosi hagab hay tameh kol shehu. Shemasnin oto lekatan lishok bo. And Rabbi Yehuda says not only he's more machmir, not only a kosher locust, even a non-kosher locust, although you wouldn't eat it, but you might store it away. So a little locust, I'm going to give it to my son to play with. And so, since it is a toy, even a non-kosher small locust would any size would be chayav if one carried it out. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Or minhu. Now we have a contradiction regarding the seeds, because we saw in the previous Mishnah that said zebel vechol hada kedel zebel kelach shel kerub, different manure and sand that are used for fertilizer. What's the minimum amount? Enough to fertilize 1 cabbage. They say 1 leek. Well, either way, it's 1 cabbage or 1 leek, but it's 1 plant. So you see that 1 plant is the minimum amount that's significant. And now that should be equivalent to 1 seed. Why many seeds if only 1 plant? The answer is obvious. Amar papa ha de zriya ha de la zriya lefi she'en adam toreach lo sinima achat lizriya. Post-processing, once the plant is already growing, a whole plant. Oh, that's significant. So enough fertilizer to help out a plant is going to be significant. But if it's not planted yet, pre-processed, then no one bothers to go and carry one seed and to plant one seed. It's too little. No one's even going to store one seed. So therefore, it has to be 2 or 5, or whatever the opinion, or a figful before it grows. It has to be that minimum threshold. Zera kishuin tanu rabbanan המוציא גרעינים אם לנטיעה שתיים, אם לאכילה כמלוא פי חזיר. Okay, so if you carry pits, date pits, if you're going to plant it, then the minimum amount is 2. If you plan to eat it, if you plan to use it for food, not that people eat it, but it's pigs eat anything. So kama melo pi chazir achat, the amount that a pig could eat, how much does it eat? 1. I'm sure more could fit in a pig's mouth, but I guess it's hard, so he has to chew on 1. If you're going to use the date pits to burn, if that's your intention, then enough to cook an egg that's easy to cook. If you're using for counting, then 2. You might use it as a token to count things. If you're using it for counting, then it's got to be at least 5, because no one needs 2 items to count. You could just see that. But 5, you might lose track of how many. Yes, Z.
So, question: why do we? And I may have missed it previously, but why do we care about the pig's mouth? It doesn't seem like it's an animal that they raised in Israel.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So right, it was a goat's mouth. It's relevant for the goat, but who cares?
Good. Yeah, that's true. And there's a prohibition to raise pigs, even. But the point is that this is only food that's fit for a pig. No other animals would not eat a date pit. Only a pig could eat it, so it's fit for pig food. So even if you're not raising pigs, maybe you'll hold on to them to sell to your neighbor who maybe is not Jewish and is raising pigs, and so it would be useful for that. So it depends on what you're storing it for. Okay, good. Tanu Rabbanan hamosi shene minimin mizenav hasus mizenav hapara chayav shemasnin otan lenishbin. 1 hair from a horse or from a cow also chayav, because people use them for traps. Miksha shel chazir achat. One of the hard hairs, tough hairs of a pig is used to make shoes. So even one of them is important. Sureh dekel shetayim, toreh dekel achat. Palm fronds, 2, those are used to make baskets, so you need at least 2 to start weaving them together. But this vine, which is from another part of the palm tree, even 1, those are tough and can be used as a whip. And so even 1 whip is a significant amount. And siporet keramim ben chaya ben meta kol shehu. This type of locust, whether it's dead or alive, is even the tiniest bit. My siporet keramim amarav palya bi'ari. Okay, that's the type of locust it is. Amar Abaye mishtakach bedikla tehad nebara v'abdila lechuchma achil lepalga dimine. And so you'll find it in the palm tree that has 1 vine. That's the type of palm tree, or a young one that has only 1 vine, and it's very good for wisdom. And so how does it work? You take this locust and you eat its right half, and then you take its left half and you put it in a tube, copper tube, din chasha, and you seal it with 60 seals. 60, of course, just means a round number, meaning a lot, because in Babylonians, they use base 60. So it's like saying 100. But you want to make sure it doesn't get out. And you hang it on your left arm. You want to remember which is right and which is left. So the part that you eat, because you want to be chacham, that's the right half, and you leave hanging the left half. And then go learn as much as you want, study everything, go finish us, and then you eat the other half. If you don't eat the other half, then everything you learned will be forgotten. So this is kind of like the beginning and the end, and that keeps it all together. All right, I don't know, if you could remember everything you ever learned, would you eat a locust for it? Okay, maybe. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Af Hamosi So the Yehuda was machmir, and he said even if one carries a locust, even the tiny locust that is not kosher, also one is chayav. So what is the reason? Tanakama sabad lo. My ta'ama dilma achel le. Tanakama says no, a non-kosher locust we would not give to a child to play with, because maybe the kid's going to be playing with it and decide he's hungry and say, oh, I guess I'll eat it. And then he's going to eat a non-kosher locust. And even if he's a young kid and under bar mitzvah, right, we don't cause kids to eat something not kosher. So we would not give our kids non-kosher locusts to play with, and therefore it's not a toy, and therefore it would not be chayav in even a small locust. But if so, then why would you give him a kosher one? Amar le shakle דלה למרו מאכל כאכילה וכעבר משום בל תשקסו את נפשותיכם. Even if kosher locusts, you shouldn't eat them alive. And we learn this from a story. Rav Kana was before Rav, and he was, putting a live locust near his mouth like he's about to eat it. And he said, no, put that down. That's disgusting, right? We don't eat a live locust. It's still squirming, running around, and you're gonna just chew it like that. That's gross. You gotta boil it first. You could dip it in chocolate. You make it, just to make it nice. And so therefore you see that even a kosher locust, you're not allowed to eat while it's alive. So therefore, as a question on Chachamim, if that's the reason that you don't want the kid to eat it, then you should not consider a kosher locust to be a toy either, because the kid should not eat it. Rather, we go back and we give a different answer altogether for the non-kosher one. Ella dilma mayet ve'achil le. We're not afraid that the kids are going to eat it alive. We're afraid that the kosher one will die. And then, the non-kosher one. We're afraid the non-kosher one, the kid will be playing with it, it'll die, and then he will eat it, and you don't want to give him anything non-kosher. Whereas the kosher one, it's okay. If it dies and he eats it, that's fine. But the Yehuda says, the non-kosher one also, you don't have to worry about. Imayet katan misped safed le. If the kosher or non-kosher one, if locusts die, then the kid's not going to eat it because it's his pet. He just played with it for a few hours, and he's going to go mourn for it. He's going to give a eulogy upon it. He's going to, give it a nice burial. It's his friend, and so he's not going to eat his friend. And so that's how we conclude the Perek with this kind of really beautiful and touching child, mourning over his little locust that he's just been playing with, right? A nice, beautiful scene. And that concludes the nice Perek. Hadran alach, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.